Okay. We were last time here, we talked about the slope-intercept form, and we used the slope-intercept form right here. This is slope, intercept, form. Right here, okay? No, sorry. I said slope-intercept. I meant to say point-slope formula. Point, slope, formula. Right, so there we used this formula right here. Right. Now, the next slide, we're gonna recycle. Okay, we are going to, once you have the slope, here is an encore solution. So you don't have to do this. I'm gonna copy that onto the next slide. It's an encore solution to the same problem. So once you get your slope, here's another way of doing it. I think I may have already done it this way once, but we'll see. Some of you have seen this way, and I don't care which way you use. You might not like the point slope formula, right? You may not like that. I told you, those chairs were the best thing of the old cafeteria. The best thing were the chairs. Right? Love the chairs. I wish I had enough for this class. We're going to do it a different way. Instead of using the point slope formula, we're going to use y equals mx plus b. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we have the slope right here. Here's m. So we're going to plug in m. Right? Put that in as 4/7. Right? We don't know b, but we have x and y. This is going to be true. Whatever equation we get will be true for every point on the line. So we can take one of these points right here and plug them in for x and y. So let's use this point here. The y coordinate is 5. The x coordinate is 3. And now solve for b. Some people like this method better. I don't care which one you use. So now you're going to have 5 equals 12. 3 times 4 is 12, 7ths, plus b. So b is going to equal 5 minus 12 7ths. I like to have what I'm solving for on the left. It's a quirk of mine, right? Five is 35/7 minus 12/7. That's 23/7.
No.
Yeah.
You said it. No.
What's that?
35.
5/7. 5 is 35/7. Multiply top and bottom by 7.
I got 23.
Yeah. Oh, what am I doing?
This is why.
20. That's the problem. I wasn't getting what you were saying. Yes, 23. I don't want to get 27. Right. And that's the same as we got the last slide. 23/7, right? So you get the same line. That's it. Time to knock off the decaf. Parallel and perpendicular lines. You should have had this before. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines perpendicular lines have this relationship here. The slope of two perpendicular lines are negative inverses of one another. So the slope of one line is going to be -1 over the slope of the other. That's another way of saying their slopes multiply to give you -1. That's another way of saying M1 times M2 is -1. So plug in one and solve for the other. All right. This will become clearer in an example here. Find the equation of the line parallel to this line passing through that point. Now, you don't have to graph these, but you may find that graphing them helps you. So I'm going to graph this one. No extra charge. I got to find the slope anyway. So what's slope-intercept form for this guy right here? -2y is -3x plus 7. Divide by -2. Y is 3/2 x minus 7/2. So that line is going to have a slope of 3/2, goes through -7/2. Okay? Slope of 3/2. You don't have to be real fancy. This point, -1, 5. It's going to be -1, 5. It's up here. So we want the line parallel to this line that goes through that point. Now, you can't do this, but I am going to cheat. No, I can't even cheat. I deserve it. All right, so here, we're going to do this. That's the parallel line, let's say. That point. It's going to have the same slope. So we found the slope 3/2. My parallel line is going to have the slope of 3/2. So now I have the slope of my desired line, the parallel line. I have a point on the desired line. So I can do what I did the last slide if I want to, right? Y equals mx plus b. M is 3/2. Right? That goes right there. B is what I'm looking for. And I use this point right here. Y is 5. X is -1. Right. So that means -3/2 plus B is 5. So B is 5 plus 3/2. 5 is 10/2 plus 3/2. That's 13/2. That's B. So, and we're going to check our answer here in a minute. So Y is 3/2 X plus 13/2. Now we can check our answer. How do we check? By the way, box my answer. I pretty much always box my final answer. I want you to do that on your test too. That way I know what you intend to have graded. By the way, when there are two answers or more answers for responses to a problem, those are called parallel solutions. In parallel solutions, the weaker solution gets the score. But sometimes people just put out, oh, it might be this, might be that. I don't know what. I'll throw out a bunch and hopefully one of them is right. The weaker solution is one that gets scored. So here, if I put in -1 for x, -1 times 3 halves is -3 halves. -3 halves plus 13 halves is 10 halves, which is 5. So you check your answer. Find the equation of the line perpendicular to that line through this point. Now, I'm not going to graph this one. You can if you want to. Like I say, for some people, you'll benefit from a graph. Never hurts. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative inverses. So, first order of business is to get the slope of this line here. So first, up here, right? -3y is -x minus 2. All those minuses multiply through by -1. Get rid of those minuses. So y is 1/3 x plus 2/3. I am interested in this guy right here. That is my slope. Let's call that one M1. That's the slope of my original line. The slope of my perpendicular line, M2, is going to be -1 over M1. That is -1 divided by 1/3. You have a couple of options how to simplify that. First of all, you need to simplify that.
-3.
Pardon me?
Is -3.
-3. So I would multiply top and bottom to clear that decimal. 3 by 3 and 3. So I'm multiplying by 1. Never underestimate the power of multiplying by 1 in a useful format. So 3 times -1, -3. 3 times 1/3, 1. And that equals -3, as Diego said. But that's only like step, call this step 2. Okay. Step 3. Use either what we did here, this, or the point slope formula to get our equation. I'm going to use the point slope formula. Y minus y0 equals mx minus x0. Plug in. M is -3. X0, Y0 is any point on the line, which that's this one right here, X0, Y0. So Y0 is -3. X0, X0 is 2. Simplify. Those cancel. So y plus 3 is -3x plus 6. So y is -3x plus 6 minus 3. Okay. This is that should be our answer. But we can check. Question. How do I know it has the right slope? Because the slope of this line is -3. The slope of my original line is 1/3. Those are negative inverses of each other. 2. does it go through this point here? 2 minus 3. Minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. Minus 6 plus 3 is minus 3. Check. So that's a happy meal. Our brain releases endorphins, serotonin, dopamine. We're ready to conquer the high country. Or at least go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Right. Some love for next time, and this is for next time. What is that going to be, the 24th?
For Wednesday?
Yeah. Now, some of you have done this calculation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Find an equation to convert the temperature in Celsius to 1 in Fahrenheit. Okay. Now, if you're like me, typical American, I grew up with Fahrenheit. All right. Back in around 9th or 10th grade, I started taking science classes, and the metric system just made a whole lot more sense. It did. Just keeping it real, dude. Just keeping it real. All right. 1 centiliter is water at 4 degrees is 1 cubic centimeter, and it weighs 1 gram. And that's all connected to link. It's just much easier calculations. They tried to convert the United States to metric back in the 70s. Believe it or not, there was a time that the interstate, signs on the interstate would say, Omaha, 72 miles, 112 kilometers. That was on our highway signs back in the 70s and early 80s. It didn't last long. Americans hated it. So we gave up. Okay.
Well, I don't understand why. Americans are also partially Europeans, and everybody else is using metric.
And we're usually in for doing things easier. And we are.
Same thing with American football. Why are you calling it football when the rest of the world calls it soccer football?
Yeah.
And not American football?
You know say? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't. Anyway, find an equation to convert temperature in Celsius to 1 in Fahrenheit. Now, first of all, convince yourself it's linear. Turns out it is. Do a graph and say, let's just put Fahrenheit on this axis. Fahrenheit degrees here, Celsius degrees here. We know a couple of different conversions. We know that when C equals 0, F equals 32. So C equals 0 along, actually it says here, we want to convert temperatures in Celsius to those in Fahrenheit. I should have swapped those. Right? In fact, I'm going to. Sorry. You can keep doing it this way if you want to. But sorry, I know. You should know. Don't worry. So you want Fahrenheit to be your vertical. Okay? You could have gotten it the other way. So 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit. Right? This is 0. And then we know that 100 Celsius is 212. So this is one that this is where you'd plug in your horizontal variable and it would produce a vertical variable, which is Fahrenheit. That's why I switched. But sorry, I know I mistook your paper. So here, this is the line we're looking for. So we have 2 points on a line. So this now is like the very first problem we did. We have 2 points on the line. Find the equation. So this point right here is the point 100, 212. This is the point 0, 32. Find the line that goes through that. The slope. First. Find the slope. Rise over the run. How far does it rise between here? This is the rise. That's the y coordinate up here, 212, divided by, or minus 32. So it's going to be the difference in the y coordinates, 212 minus 32, divided by the difference in the x coordinates, right? 212 corresponds to 100, 32 corresponds to 0. So this equals 180 divided by 100. Divide top and bottom by 20. That gives you 9 divided by 5. That's our slope. Any questions on that part? Next. Uh-oh. 5 minutes left at crisis. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture of that. It's got to make the last 5 minutes exciting, right?
So which ones do you need to know on that formula?
I'm sorry?
So you have 100, the point 100 and 212 on there. You
Yeah.
have 212 and 32.
Well, you need to know that 212 is boiling Fahrenheit and 100 is boiling in Celsius. And so 0 is freezing in Fahrenheit, is Celsius, and 32 is.
I get that, but can you show me where you get the and numbers?
Well, this is the difference in the y coordinates. The difference between these two y coordinates. So the y coordinate up here is 212. The y coordinate here is 32. So that difference is the difference in the y's. And then the difference in the x's is the x coordinate here is 100. You got to subtract them in the same order. The x coordinate here is 100. The x coordinate here is 0. So that's where that came from.
I think it's 32.
Uh-oh. Let's see how much we lost, if anything. Sometimes you lose the whole page, everything you've written on the whole page. Sometimes you just lose the last couple of words. Of course, it's Monday. Guess which one it's going to be? We lost everything. Yeah. So we're going to go over here. Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do. We're going to cut that out. And we're going to paste. Is that a lazy bottom dwelling solution? That's great. Oh. Okay. I know. This happens every period almost. So the second thing you do is you use our formula. Our formula is what? Let's use y equals mx plus b. I'm sorry? Oh, you know what? I didn't think of that. Well, I did know it, but I didn't somehow. Did you hear that? That was there's no basketball players in here, right? Your basketball? Well, that was nothing but net. That was downtown 3-point land, man. Did y'all hear what he said? Yeah. We have it. It's 32. Y-intercept. So you got that silly nonsense. You already have your y-intercept. Y has to equal m 9/5 x plus 32. Now, what would have happened if you used the point slope formula? You would have gotten 32. But that's not bottom dwelling at all. Trevor's the bottom dweller here, right? Right. Okay. How did your brother do, by the way?
He ended up losing the heartbeat.
Oh, I'm sorry. But he went to state, though. That's pretty good. Convert 37 into Fahrenheit. So that means, oh, you know what we should really have done is written this. Y is Fahrenheit. It's not X and Y. So Y is 9/5 C plus 32. That's how we should have. So here we have 37 for C. So Fahrenheit, we're interested in Fahrenheit that corresponds to 37. There you go. Somebody knows this. So 9 times 37. Who's got their 37 tables up? Right. So 37 times 10 is 370. 370 minus 37 is 333. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. So this is 333 over 5 plus 32 is how much? 32 is 160 over 5. That is 393 over 5. Now,
493.
pardon me?
493.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Typo right here. 4. Now, 5 goes into 500 100 times. So this is 100 minus 7/5. Right? 7/5 is 1.4 degrees. 1.4. So that's 100 minus 1.4, or 98.6. Which is supposed to be the normal temperature for in Fahrenheit, right? Now, you guys have had, we're out of time. We're done. You guys have had your temperature check probably 112 times the last month, right? Or whatever, right? How many times has it been over 98?
A lot.
Some of yours has been? Mine has never been once over 98. I got my temperature checked a couple times this summer. I was cooking out at a camp, a Christian camp. I was my wife and I were I was one of the teachers the week before. I got my temperature checked several times a day, right? And it never. At one time it was 90. They checked it twice. They thought I was in trouble. It was 94 something, right? Anyway, that's the traditional Fahrenheit temperature for our body temperature. See you guys. Some of you guys tonight.
Well, it's still not precise because it should be 36.7 degrees Celsius. So it's not precisely
Right.
37. So it's a little bit less than that.